Nice to see you all again. Okay. Uh, there are a few things that I would like to announce before we start our class today. Number one, a gentle reminder on our midterm exam, which will be scheduled on Thursday during class hours. There were some questions related to the midterm exams, so I would like to give some information about the exam that will be held in 2 days time. Yeah. First, it will have 20 multiple choice questions and uh, two short essays. Multiple choice questions, as usual, it will be on iTaklim, and also the short essays. So because it is on iTaklim, you need to type your answers. Yeah. So I will open the midterm exam for the full 1.5 hours because some of you were worried that you are not able to type very quickly. So 1.5 hours will be sufficient for you to answer those questions. Okay. And secondly, the coverage will be from topic 1 to topic 5. Yeah, topic 1 is the introductory chapter on what is economics, yeah, the scarcity issue, the economic perspective, difference between micro and macro, the scientific method of study, as well as the production possibilities curve. And then the second topic is on the economic systems. The third topic is on demand, supply, and market equilibrium. The fourth topic will be on market failures, externalities, and so on. Yeah, which we have covered in our last exercise 1. And topic 5 covers the 4 types of elasticities, yeah, which also included in our last exercise 1. Okay. Announcement number 2, with regard to the recordings of our Google Meet previously, I was able to download the file from the source, but the file is too big to be copied into your iTaklim. So I will need to get somebody to put it on YouTube, as we have done for the first 2 topics on elasticity. Okay, so I hope you can be patient on this, uh, and I will be having that link on iTaklim as soon as possible. However, you should not be worried because the Google Meet class that we had the other day was on utility maximization, which will not be covered in the midterm exam next class on Thursday. Okay. And number 3, there are a number of issues related to exercise 1. Last week and yesterday, I was very occupied with a program that I organized. So the program had successfully finished yesterday. So inshallah from today I will look into your messages and address them, yeah, one by one. So please do not worry if you have sent WhatsApp messages to me and I have not replied. So I will be replying later today. Yeah? So I have class now until 3:30 or 4. And after that, I will start to look at your messages and then reply accordingly. Yeah. So please bear with me on this. Okay. Any questions before we start our lesson for today? Okay, thank you, Husna. Uh, okay, let's start. So let me share my screen now. I hope you can already see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Right. So Alhamdulillah, we have managed to discuss the first component of the utility maximization theory, which use the cardinal approach. Okay, so the cardinal approach assume that satisfaction or utility that a consumer derive from consuming a particular good or service can be measured using an imaginary standard unit of measurement, which is called utils. Yeah, so we have looked at how with the assumptions, for example, a rational consumer, the consumer has a limited income, the consumer has a clear preference, and then the consumer is constrained with the income that he or she has, as well as the price of the two products in the market. The consumer will choose to buy the good that has more marginal utility per dollar. And whenever the two product has the same marginal utility per dollar, the consumer will reach equilibrium by buying both products. And this is one of the condition for consumer utility maximization. However, the second condition would require that the income allocated by the consumer for the two products will be fully utilized. Therefore, if there are still available income left remaining from the purchase, that the consumer needs to proceed and spend all of those income in buying the two goods. Okay, until the point where number one, the two products give the consumer the same marginal utility per dollar, and the total income the consumer spend on those two products is fully utilized. So those are the two conditions for utility maximization. Now, uh, many economists were not comfortable with this approach where we assume that we are able to measure the satisfaction derived from consuming goods by using this standard unit of measurement called utils. Yeah, due to the fact that utility is very subjective in nature, you are not able to measure it objectively because these are in the heads of the consumers. Yeah, we cannot measure something which is hidden, yeah, or non-observable. Yeah. So in that case, assuming that we are able to objectively measure utility is something that many economists would not be comfortable. So they have come up with another approach. This is what we call ordinal approach. Yeah, order. Yeah, ranking the preferences. Yeah, not giving them specific numbers, but just ranking. Okay. So in order to understand the ordinal approach, we need to use the indifference curve analysis. Yeah. Indifference curve analysis has two components, the budget line and also the indifference curve itself. I think the budget line, we have discussed this in our first topic, the economizing problem of an individual. Individual has a certain amount of income, and the price, the product in the market that the consumer would like to purchase have their prices. Yeah, so there are a certain combination of the two products that the consumer can purchase at maximum. Yeah, beyond that, it is no longer attainable. Okay, let's look at the budget line here. Okay, on the vertical axis, you have quantity of A. On the horizontal axis, you have quantities of B. Is this right? Is this right? Anybody can confirm this? Vertical axis, Y axis, quantities of A, and X axis, quantities of B.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes?
sir.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Now, the price of A is 1 ringgit 50 cents, and the price of B is $1. Yeah. So A is $1.50, B $1. So assuming that the consumer has a total income of $12 to be spent on these two products, A and B, then the budget line would represent the maximum combinations of the two products that the consumer can purchase. Yeah, for example, if the consumer spend all of the $12 of income to buy A, and we know that the price of A is $1.50. Yeah. So the intercept, the point on the vertical axis, would be $12 total income divided by the price of A, 1.5, which will give you 8 units of A. Okay. So if you put a point on the vertical axis, yeah, the vertical axis, then you will have 8 quantities of A and 0 quantity of B. Okay. So that point on the y-intercept, 8 units of A and 0 units of B, because you are spending all of your $12 of income to purchase only A, 0 B. On the other extreme, you can also spend all of your income to buy only B's. Yeah, so total income is 12 divided by the price of B is $1. Then you are able to get 12 units of B. And this is on the X axis. The X-intercept here will be 12 units of B and 0 unit of A. In order for you to draw a budget line, you only need these 2 points. Yeah, the y-intercept, yeah, how many A with 0 B, and the x-intercept, how many B with 0 A. So you have a point on Y, the vertical axis, and a point on X, the horizontal axis. Therefore, you can combine the 2 points to make a budget line. However, on the budget line itself, you can have many other combinations. Yeah, for example, you can have 6 unit of A and 3 units of B, right? That would be a point on the budget line as well. Yeah, 6 unit of A will be $9 and 3 units of B will be $3. Therefore, it makes up a total of $12. You can also have another point along the budget line. For example, 4 units of A, which costs $6, and a 6 unit of B, which costs another $6, making up $12 altogether. So you have many other potential combinations of the two products, which lies all along that budget line. Now, what happens if the price of these two products changes? Let's say the price of A increase to $2. What will happen? The price of A increase to $2. Anyone? What will happen?
Price of the
Price of A increase to $2. What will happen to the budget line? Anyone?
Shift to the left.
Shift to the left. Yeah. Okay. When we say shift, it requires both the y-intercept and the x-intercept to move. Yeah. So that is when we call it a shift. But here, when the price of A increase from $1.50 to $2, it will not cause a shift, but it will only cause a rotation. A rotation because the price of B doesn't change. Yeah, so the x-intercept on the horizontal axis will remain at 12 units. But now because the price of A has increased to $2, how many A's that you can buy if you spend $12 to buy only A's?
6.
6, right? So that budget line will rotate inward on the tail of the y-axis. Yeah. So that y-intercept will go down from 8 units to only 6 units. So 6 units of A with 0 units of B. But the point on the x-intercept remains at that same point, which is 12 units of A with 0 units, 12 units of B with 0 units of A. Right? So there will be a rotation inward, yeah, on the y-axis, whereas the point on the x-axis remains the same. What if the price of A declines to $1? Price of A declines to $1. What will happen? It will be the opposite, right? Right? The budget line will rotate outward on the y-axis. Yeah? It will rotate outward on the y-axis. So now the y-intercept is no longer at 8 units of A, but it will be at 12 units of A. So it will go from 12 units of A on the y-axis with 0 units of B down to the x-axis, 12 units of B with 0 units of A. Yeah? So it will only be a rotation on the points along the y-axis, with the points on the x-axis remains at that same position. Okay, so this is what happens if the price of A changes. Yeah, the same thing will happen if the price of B changes while the price of A remains the same. Yeah, What happen if the price of B increase to $2? What happen if the price of B increase to $2? Anyone? Anyone can answer? Are you all there?
So the y-intercept will rotate inward.
We rotate inward, right? It will rotate inward, right? On the x-axis, okay? Because before this, when the price was $1, so we can buy 12 units of A, yeah? And 12 units of B and 0 units of A. Now, when the price is $2 for B, we can only buy 6 units of B with 0 units of A, right? So the points on the x-intercept will move from 12 units there, going inside to 6 units, but the point on the y-axis will remain the same, okay? So changes by one of the changes in the price by one of the two products will result in a rotation of the budget line. However, if we have a change in the price for both products, then it will lead to a shift, yeah, a shift. For example, if the price of A increase from $1.50 to $2, and if the price of B also increase from $1 to $2, then what will happen is both intercepts on the y-axis and on the x-axis will move. For example, the y-intercept on the vertical axis will go down from 8 units of A down to 6 units of A with 0 Bs. And the points on the x-axis will move from 12 units of B with 0 A going inside to 6 units of B with 0 A. Right? So the new budget line will be from 6 units on the y-axis down to 6 units of B on the x-axis. So when the price for both product changes, then there will be a shift where the two intercepts will move at the same time. What else can cause this shift? What happens if the income, yes. What happens if the income of the consumer changes? For example, here you have $12. What happens if the income dropped to $9? If the income dropped to $9, then given the budget line that we have here, $9 divided by 150, the price of A, so we cannot buy 8 units of A, we can only buy 6 units of A. Yeah. So the intercept will go down from 8 units on the y-axis to 6 units on the y-axis. Similarly, on the x-axis, $9 divided by 1, it will no longer be 12 units, it will only be 9 units. Yeah. So the decline in income from $12 to $9 from this budget line, the budget line will shift inward with the y-axis to have the intercept at 6 units of A, and on the x-axis you have the x-intercept to be at 9 units of B. Okay, so this is the discussion on the budget line. Okay, now we move to the second component of the indifference curve analysis, which is the indifference curve itself. So what is the meaning of indifference? Indifference means that you don't have any preference to either of the choice that you are given. Yeah. For example, normally you answer a survey, strongly disagree, slightly disagree, and then neutral, yeah, or indifference, and then you have slightly agree, agree, strongly agree. So you have 7 options, yeah. But you do not know whether you agree or disagree, so you put there in the middle, neutral or indifference. So you are neither agreeing or disagreeing with that statement in the survey. The same like in this case, indifference curve here represent the consumers doesn't have any preference for one combination to the other combination on the same indifference curve. Okay. Okay, let us look at the table here. Okay, let's say you are given 4 options. Yeah. You are lucky, you get a lucky draw in a let's say carnival. Let's say there's an international book fair and you are the 100,000th visitor. Yeah? Suddenly the organizer take you aside, oh, congratulations, you are our number 100,000 visitor. You are very lucky today. You can choose any of these hampers. There are 4 hampers on the table there. Okay, and then they are all labeled J, K, L, M. Four hampers, yeah? Okay, in the first hamper, in all of these hampers, there are apples and bananas, yeah? Apples A, bananas B. In the first hamper, you have 12 apples and 2 bananas, yeah? 12 apples and 2 bananas. In the second hamper label K, you have 6 apples and 4 bananas. In L, you have 4 apples and 6 bananas. And lastly, you have 3 apples and 8 bananas. Okay? Now, when you are given these options, you do not know which one of the 4 that you prefer. You are equally happy if you are given any of these 4. This is what we call an indifference schedule. Yeah, you are indifferent on these 4 options. Whether you receive J or K or L or M, they are all equally giving you the same level of satisfaction. You get the point here? Yeah, give you
Yes, sir.
the same level of satisfaction. That's why you are indifferent of these all 4 options. So you said to the organizer, I have looked at all the options and I have concluded that all of these, any one of these will give me the same equal satisfaction. Yeah, okay, all right. Now the question is, why does you have different numbers or combinations of apples and bananas that the consumer feel that they are all equally giving the same level of satisfaction. Look at basket, the first one, J. You have 12 apples and only 2 bananas. What do we know about the law of diminishing marginal utility? What do we know about the law of diminishing marginal utility? As we consume more and more of the same product, each additional unit of the product will give us lesser and lesser additional utility, right? Okay. So when you have a lot of something, will you value it more or less?
Less.
When you have a lot of something, will you value it more or less?
Less.
Less, right? In this
Yes.
case, you have a lot of apples. So just imagine, what would be the marginal utility of each unit of that additional apples? It will be becoming less and less and less, right? The first one may be high, but the second one lower, third one lower, fourth one even lower, fifth one even much lower, and so on. Yeah. But you only have 2 bananas, right? When you have less of something, you value them more, right? So the first banana give you high marginal utility. The second will still give you high, right? So this marginal utility for bananas will be very high, but marginal utility for apples will be very low because you have a lot of them. Okay. Let's say we have an imaginary level. Let's say basket J will give you a certain level of satisfaction, right? From 12 apples and 2 bananas. Now, we know that basket K will also give us the same level of satisfaction as basket J. But look at the number of apples there. The number of apples dropped from 12 to 6, right? How many bananas are added? From 2 to 4, right? 2 additional bananas and 6 less apples. Remember, J and K give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. But what we are seeing here is that the marginal rate of substitution is what? 6 apples over 2 bananas. Yeah, 6 apples over 2 bananas. By adding 2 more bananas, you are required to take out 6 apples so that J and K will give you the same level of satisfaction. Okay. Let me give some scenarios. Yeah? Let's say we have a scale. Let's say when you buy fruits at the market, they use a scale, right? Let's say I want 2 kilograms of apple. They will put all these apples on the scale until it reach 2 kilograms, and then that's it. Yeah. So they will pack these apples and sell it to you. But suppose that we imagine that we have a scale to measure total satisfaction. Okay. It doesn't measure weight. Yeah. It measures total satisfaction based on the consumer preference. Let's say basket J, you put 12 apples and 2 bananas. Let's say it gives you a reading of high. Let's say, moderately high, because we don't want to use any number, right? Any number, because we are talking about the ordinal approach. Ordinal approach doesn't use any specific units of measurement for utility. So we don't put there 20 utils or 30 utils or 100 utils, right? So we are just ranking them. In this case, all J, K, L, and M, they are at the same rate of satisfaction. Let's say all of these give you moderately high level of satisfaction. Moderately high level of satisfaction. Let's say you put 12 apples and 2 bananas. Yeah, you put 12 apples and 2 bananas on that scale, and then that scale reads you moderately high level of satisfaction. If you put 2 more bananas, from J to K, we are moving from J to K, what happened is additional banana give you significantly higher marginal utility. Remember? Because you only have 2 bananas. The third and the fourth will give you high level of satisfaction. All right? Because you only have few bananas. So when you put there 2 bananas on the scale, you have now 12 apples and 4 bananas. The scale we read very high level of satisfaction. Before this, moderately high. It goes very high. So you know that in order to keep basket K to be having the same level of satisfaction, you need to take out some apples, right? Okay. Let's say since you have put 2 bananas, you want to take out only 2 apples. So you took out 2 apples. But the scale doesn't go down much. From very, very high, only down to very high. You want it back to moderately high, right? The reason is because the third and the fourth banana carry very high marginal utility. But when you only take out 2 apples, which means before this you have 12, so you are taking out the 12th and the 11th apple. The 12th and the 11th apple carry very low marginal utility because you have a lot of apples. So you cannot only take 2 apples out, you need to take 6 apples out. So in other words, the total satisfaction derived from the third and the fourth banana that you just added is equivalent to the 6 apple from the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th apples that you have consumed previously. Yeah. So when you take out 6 apples, then the scale will go back to moderately high. Yeah. So this is because initially when you have a lot of apples, 12 apples, you value them less. Therefore, you are able to sacrifice 6 apples to get only the 2 additional bananas. So far, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
We also know that basket L will also give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Yeah. But now how many apples you have? 6 apples and 4 bananas. So you already have quite a balanced number, not exactly balanced, but quite a balanced number of apples and bananas. Now the marginal utility of apples are now relatively higher because before this you have 12 apples, now you only have 6 apples. And then the marginal utility for bananas is also becoming lesser because before this you have 2, now you have already 4. Yeah. So when you add 2 more bananas, bananas number 5 and bananas number 6, you only need to take out 2 apples so that basket K and basket L will give the consumer the same level of total satisfaction. Okay, so because you already have quite a number of bananas, so the 5th and the 6th will not be significantly high, and you already have very much fewer number of apples. So the 5th and 6th apples will also give you slightly higher marginal utility. So you take out, you added 2 bananas and you only need to take out 2 apples so that the level of total satisfaction from basket L will be the same with basket K. Now what happens is at basket L, you already have a lot of bananas, 6 bananas and only 4 apples. Now which one you value more, bananas or apple?
Apple.
Apples, right? Now because you have very few apples, only 4 apples, and slightly more bananas. Yeah. So if you added 2 more bananas, from 6 bananas to 8 bananas, the 7th and 8th units of banana doesn't give you much additional utility. Yeah. And therefore, you only need to take out 1 apples to compensate for that. In other words, from from L to M, you only need to sacrifice 1 apple in order to compensate for the additional 2 units of bananas. Okay, this is because apples are now valued more as compared to the larger numbers of bananas that you currently have. Yeah, so this is why the marginal rate of substitution between apples and bananas are declining as you have lesser and lesser number of apples when you continue to add more and more units of bananas. Yeah? For example, when you move from J to K, you are adding 2 bananas, but you are sacrificing 6 apples. Yeah, 2 bananas for 6 apples. And then from K to L, you are also adding 2 more bananas, but you are only sacrificing 2 apples. Yeah, 2 bananas for 2 apples. And finally, you are also adding 2 more bananas from 6 to 8, but you are only sacrificing 1 unit of apple. Yeah, so the marginal rate of substitution becoming less and less. When we plot this combination on the indifference curve, you look at the diagram there, the y-axis represent quantities of A, and the x-axis represent quantities of B. Okay, what happened is the slope of the indifference curve is becoming flatter and flatter. Yeah, before this, you have 12 apples and 2 bananas. Adding 2 more bananas require you to sacrifice 6 apples. So there's a big drop from 12 apples down to 6 apples. Yeah, when you move from J to K. This represents a very high marginal rate of substitution. When you added 2 more bananas from 4 to 6, then you only need to sacrifice 2 apples. Yeah, so the slope becomes flatter. When you move from L to M, you are adding 2 more bananas, but you only need to sacrifice 1 apple. So the marginal rate of substitution becomes very small here. So the slope represents the marginal rate of substitution between the 2 products. Okay, so the indifference curve represent the different combinations of the 2 products that the consumer will gain the same level of satisfaction, such that the consumer is indifferent between all of these 4 options. Whether J or K or L or M, they are all giving the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Okay, so far so good?
？Yes, sir.
Okay, now
Yes, sir.
probably you are wondering where is the ordering? Yeah, where's the ordering? Because we are talking about the ordinal approach, right? We are assuming that we are able to rank preferences by the consumers, but we are not using the standard unit of measurement by giving exact or an objective number of utility derived from a certain consumption. Yeah, what we are seeing here is just the fact that the consumer, when given a certain combinations of goods and services, there are indifference between all of these options. Yeah, So J, K, L, M, they are all giving the consumer the same level of satisfaction. The ordering is not here. Yeah? The ordering happens when we have an indifference map. Indifference map. Okay. Now what you can see in the diagram are four different indifferent curves. Yeah, four different indifferent curves. I1, I2, I3, I4. Okay. So we are able to order the level of satisfaction that the consumer receive by consuming the different combinations of the two products. So for example, on I1, we have many points, right? We can have many points representing many combinations of A and B. Okay, so any of these points will give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. And then we have I2. I2 is higher than I1, right? So I2, all points on I2 represent the same level of satisfaction. But the satisfaction derived by consuming the combinations of goods on I2 will be higher than the satisfaction the consumer derive from purchasing any combination on I1. The same thing, you have I3, which is even higher than I2. So the consumer will gain the same level of satisfaction by consuming any points on I3. However, the level of satisfaction on I3 will be higher than I2 and obviously higher than I1. And then you have I4. Yeah, all points on I4 give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. But the satisfaction you derive by consuming any points on I4 will be larger than I3, I2, and I1. So we are able to order the level of satisfaction of the consumer from different combinations of goods by locating that combination on I1 or I2 or I3 or I4. Yeah, if that combination is on I4, then the level of satisfaction derived from that consumption will be higher than any other combinations on I3 or any other combinations on I2 or any other combinations on I1. So the objective of the consumer is to maximize utility, right? Therefore, the consumer will try to reach the highest indifference curve possible, given the budget constraints that the consumer has. Okay, so the idea is to reach the highest indifference curve possible, because the higher you reach the indifference curve, the higher will be your level of satisfaction. Yeah, because the level of satisfaction is ordered by using these different indifferent curves. Okay, let's look at the budget line here. Now, when we draw the budget line, we are now able to identify what would be the combinations that are attainable. Remember, anything beyond that budget line is unattainable. Anything inside the budget line is attainable, but you are not fully utilizing all income. Yeah, okay. So in order to maximize utility, you need to satisfy both of these. Yeah, in the case of an indifference curve analysis, number one, you need to reach the highest indifference curve possible, and you need to consume based on your budget line. In other words, the combination of the two products that you need to purchase must be along the budget line. Yeah, so that combination of products, if it is located on the budget line, it means that the consumer has fully utilized all income. Beyond the budget line is not attainable, inside is attainable but you don't utilize all income, on the budget line is attainable and you are fully utilizing all income. Okay, so at what point on that diagram that the consumer will maximize utility? Okay, can the budget line reach the highest indifference curve at I4? No, right? It is beyond, right? It is unattainable, right? Okay, even though it may give the consumer higher level of satisfaction, but none of the points on the indifference curve 4 is attainable based on the budget line. So what's the highest?
I3.
I3, right? But not the whole of I3, right?
Yeah.
Just one point on I3. The point in which the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve, I3. Okay, so does that matter? You can only reach one point and not the whole indifference curve of I3? Is that matter? Is that a problem? What have we learned about indifference curve? All the points give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Okay, so it does not matter whether you are able to reach only one of the point, because all the other points on the indifference curve, in this case I3, will give you the same level of satisfaction. So even if you are able to reach only one point, that point there, it is already sufficient. You have achieved high level, you have achieved the level of satisfaction that I3 will give to you, despite the fact that some of the combinations are outside. All other combinations are actually unattainable. You can only attain one point there, marked as X, right? So that is the point where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. Can you achieve points on I2?
Yes.
Yes, right. I1?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but they are not the highest indifference curve that you can reach, right? Therefore, you should not be purchasing any combinations on I1 and I2 simply because you can maximize your utility by purchasing that one point tangent to the budget line located on I3. Okay, so we know that the budget line is a downward sloping curve, right? A straight line downward sloping curve. And we know that the indifference curve has a convex curve. You remember the shape of the production possibilities curve? It bowed out from the origin, right? We call it concave, where the slope is becoming steeper and steeper. However, in this context, the indifference curve has a convex curve. The slope becomes flatter and flatter. Right? The slope represents the marginal rate of substitution. Remember, we discussed this before. And since the marginal rate of substitution goes down, as we add more and more bananas, the number of apples that we need to sacrifice becoming less and less, right? So the marginal rate of substitutions are declining. So you have a convex curve, yeah, a convex curve. And then you have a downward sloping budget line. So it holds that the maximum utility that the consumer will gain given the budget that the consumer has will be at a point in which the budget line is just tangential to the indifference curve. In this case, the budget line here is tangential to indifference curve number 3. Therefore, that point where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve number 3 represent the consumer equilibrium position. In this case, the slope of the budget line and the slope of the indifference curve are equal, because that is the mathematical property of a tangent, right? At that tangential point, the slope of the budget line and the slope of the indifference curve, they are equal. Therefore, it represents consumer equilibrium. Remember the formula or the property for consumer equilibrium under the cardinal approach? What is the formula? What is the property? Marginal utility per dollar, MUA over price of A is equal to MUB over price of B. Remember that? So the same mathematical property is applicable here, where at consumer equilibrium, the slope of the budget line and the slope of the indifference curve, they are equal. Okay, the slope of the indifference curve represent marginal rate of substitution. The slope of the budget line represent the price of A over the price of B. Yeah, if you do the maths, then you will still get the same mathematical property as the cardinal utility approach. Okay, so at the point where consumer reach equilibrium, how many A and how many B the consumer will purchase?
Four quantity of A and 6 quantity of B.
So 4 quantities of A and 6 quantities of B. Okay, so this is a consumer equilibrium. Can we compute the total utility for this consumer? Cannot, yeah, because this is not the cardinal approach where you can identify the number of utils for each unit of consumption. Yeah, so we just know that the total satisfaction that the consumer will derive from this combination 4 of A and 6 of B is represented by I3. Yeah, whatever the level of satisfaction, I3 will give us. I4, even though it is more preferential because higher level of satisfaction is outside the reach of our budget line. If let's say our income is increasing, then the budget line will shift outward, right? Then we are able to maximize our utility at a higher level of satisfaction because the budget line is now able to reach higher indifferent curves. Okay. However, what happens if our income decline? Then the budget line will shift inward, right? Therefore, I3 will no longer be attainable. So we may be maximizing utility at a lower level of satisfaction. Okay. So when we talk about maximizing utility, we are not talking about getting the highest total satisfaction per se, because we need to also consider our budget constraint. If our budget constraint become higher, in other words, our income becomes more limited, then utility maximization will be done at a lower level of consumption and at a lower level of satisfaction. Okay, by using this indifference curve analysis, we are also able to derive the demand curve as what we have done with the cardinal approach. Okay. What happens if, let's say, the price of B Okay, tell me what is happening in the diagram there. Which of the axes are rotating? Which of the axis is rotating?
X-axis.
The price of B is now increasing, right? Because the budget line is rotating inward on the x-axis, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when the price of B increased from $1 to $1.5, then the x-intercept is no longer at 12 units. The x-intercept now is at 1.5, 12 divided by 1.5, how much? 9 units. Sorry. 12 divided by 1.5, 8 units. Yeah, 8 units. Okay. So when the budget line has currently rotated inward on the x-axis, what happened now? Can you attain I3?
No, sir.
No. So I3 is now outside the attainable area, right? So what will be the new equilibrium position? It will be at the point where the new budget line is tangential to I2. I2 is the highest indifference curve that the consumer can reach given the increase in the price of B. So what will be the utility maximization combination of the two products? How many A's and how many B's?
5A
5 A's and
and 3Bs.
3 B's. Okay. So given the higher price of B, and because of that, the budget line has rotated inward. Therefore, the new equilibrium for utility maximization will be that the consumer purchase 5 units of A and 3 units of B. Now, based on these two consumer equilibrium positions that we have examined, we are able to derive the demand curve for B. Before this, when the price of B was $1, we buy how much? How many Bs? 6 units of Bs, right? At before this, at $1 for B, we purchase 6 units of B. Now, when the price of B increases to $1.5, we only able to buy 3 units of B. So we can derive that demand curve. So on the y-axis, we have the price of B. On the x-axis, you have the quantities for B. And then you have $1 now where we buy, where the consumer purchase 6 units of B. And now when the price has gone up to 1.5, the consumer only purchase 3 units of B. Yeah. So $1, 6 unit, $1.5, 3 units. So you have the 2 points. So when you connect the 2 points, you will have a downward sloping demand curve for B. Are you able to follow this one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again here, we are able to derive a downward sloping demand curve for product B. And we prove that what we have discussed in topic 3 on the law of demand can be proven by using the indifference curve analysis. In other words, when consumer maximizes utility, they will buy more units when the price is lower, and they will buy less units when the price is higher. Now, we can also identify the impact of the income effect and substitution effect. Yeah. Remember, the income effect is the impact on the ability of the consumer to purchase based on the same amount of money income that he or she has. For example, before this, the consumer has $12 of income. Yeah. Okay. When the price of B increased from $1 to $1.5, what happened to the budget line? The budget line rotated inward. So because the budget line rotated inward, it means that the area for attainable purchase is smaller. Before this, you have that budget line bigger. Now the budget line becomes smaller. So the real purchasing power, the real income in terms of the purchasing power of the consumer to buy the two products decline. Okay, so that is the income effect. The second is the substitution effect. What happened? Before this, when the price of B was $1, we buy 6 units of B and 4 units of A, right? When the price now for B increases to 1.5, what happened? We reduce the number of B from 6 units to 3 units. And what happens to A? We increase it from 4 units to 5 units. So there is a substitution effect here as well. Okay, so not only that the higher price of B resulted in the lower purchasing power to purchase B, yeah, but it has also led to a substitution away from B to buying more of A. So both substitution effect and income effect happen at the same time and resulted in the change in the quantity demanded whenever the price goes up. Okay, any questions on this before we end the class? Anything?
No, sir.
Okay, please remember to log into iTaklim and record your attendance. Yeah, I will reply to your messages later today. For those who have sent messages to me, I will also upload the previous recording and also this one on YouTube and put the link in on iTaklim. Yeah, and please revise for your midterm exam, which will be next class from 11:30 up to 1 o'clock. Yeah, 1.5 hour. And it will be on iTaklim covering topic 1 until topic 5. Okay, so thank you very much everyone for coming to the online class. All the best for your midterm exam. Any issues, please drop a message in our WhatsApp group. Yeah, thanks. Thank you again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
everyone.
Thank you, sir.